All right, so my project's NeuroGuard. It's a real-time field concussion detection system. And I'm Arkapravo. My mentor was Joshua Price. And here's pretty much the finished product. So what does it do? Well, it's basically a device that's designed to detect brainwaves after a big impact is sustained. And it will use EEG sensors to detect the waves and an accelerometer to detect impacts. If the impact's big enough and the EEG waves say that something happened to the player, it will send an email to all the registered email addresses. So I got the idea behind the device when two things happened. One time, I was watching a college level football game and two players collided. And they seemed to be fine, but a couple of days later, we figured out that one of the people, they had a concussion. But I'm like, fine, they're college level football players, they know what they're doing. But then a couple of months later, my friends crashed into each other while riding a scooter and a bike, and they seemed shaken up. They did not want to go to the doctor. We took them to the doctor. The doctor said they were fine, but I wanted to know if they were okay or not immediately. So I basically made the device. The problem is that concussions are a major concern in sports and just regular life in general. There are 3.8 million of them annually in the US, and 30 to 50% of them are not detected immediately. So my goal was to make a helmet with the electronic suite that would detect if a concussion happened or not. Here's how it works. First, an impact has to occur. Second, if the impact's big enough, it's detected and I get data from the headset. I then take the data, pass it through my own model, and then I send all the registered email addresses an email saying, are you okay? Are you not okay? And a EEG graph of the player. For the hardware, I used a Raspberry Pi. For the EEG sensor, I used a Muse 2 EEG headset. For the impact detection, I looked at the ADXL 375 accelerometer. For the power bank, it's just a power bank, and the SD card stores all the data and the code for the project. The software part's pretty much the same. I'll first look at the accelerometer data, and if it's greater than 60 Gs, I'll connect to the headset, take the data, and then I'll figure out if the data is abnormal or normal. Regardless if it's abnormal or normal, I'll send an email with the data and the EEG graph and just send it to any email addresses. And then I'll access the accelerometer data again so that I can check for any new hits to the head. For the software and the model, pretty much, I started off with 2, 3, and 4-layer models. And the 4-layer model did the best. It got just over 70% accuracy. And after many months of tweaking, I got it to 72% accuracy with 1 channel of data. But the Muse has 4 channels. So then I changed the number of channels from 1 to 4, and eventually I got it to 76.32%. Here's the entire breakdown of the accuracy. So true negative is basically the person's fine and the model said that they were fine. True positive is that the person was not fine and the model said that they were not fine. Adding these two gives me my final model accuracy of 76.32%. False positive is that the person was fine, but the model incorrectly said that they were not fine. And false negative is that the person was not fine, but the model said they were fine. I tried to minimize this as much as possible. And just so y'all have a point of comparison, my model got 76.32%, and the other top 2 models got 59.35 and 63.25% accuracy, respectively. I pretty much had 4 test cases. Case 1 was that if the accelerometer is accurate enough to be used at all. So I took the device, placed it on top of a desk, and the X and Y coordinates, they had no forces applied to them. And so they stayed close to 0. The Z-axis, I know it says 1, but that's because the Earth pulls on you with 1 G of force. So after looking at this, I determined that the accelerometer is accurate enough to be used in this project. Case 2 is that I moved the device around a lot, but I shouldn't see the device getting data from the headset because it hasn't crossed the threshold of 60 Gs. And so I moved it around and I got to a maximum force of 5.4 Gs, but because that's less than 60, it didn't get data from the headset. Case 3 is that if the device does cross the threshold, it should get data from the headset. And in this case, the headset is placed on someone who has no brain damage, that person being me. So I lowered the threshold to 5 Gs because I'm physically not strong enough to accelerate the device to 60 Gs. And as you can see, here at the X coordinate, I got 5.17 Gs. And I tested this 20 times, and because I don't have any brain damage, it said I'm okay most of the time. Twice it said I am not okay, but this is still a 90% accuracy for the testing part. Case 4 is the exact same, except this time I'm trying to see if the device will detect if the person has brain damage or not. Because I don't have brain damage and I don't have access to anyone who does, I got 20 files from the internet and I passed those through the model. And again, most of the time, the model said that those had brain damage, as it should, but twice it said that they didn't when they did. So again, 90% accuracy here as well. Here are the example emails. The top one here is what you would get if the person was fine, but they still went through some stress. So it'll read, your player seems to have gone through a lot of stress. We have detected G-forces beyond safe levels. After running the data through the model, our prediction is that the player seems to be fine. And I'll also give them the EEG graph of the player. Conversely, if the player is not okay, everything's the exact same, except I just say that the player seems to have some sort of brain damage or abnormality. So in conclusion, I have demonstrated that it is possible to make a device that will detect if you have a concussion or not. And my model got 76%, and there's a lot of room for improvement. For the future, I'll try and use a different type of network. I'm using CNNs right now because those are the most well-known types of models. And RNNs, they seem to be better. I just don't know how they work, so I refrain from using them. So I'll change the CNN to an RNN. I'll try and find a different headset because the entire device cost $264, out of which $200 was the headset alone. So a different headset would make it cheaper and more accessible. And then I used the Raspberry Pi Zero, but a Raspberry Pi Pico is smaller, cheaper, and just more robust in general. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks so much, Arkapravo. This was really interesting. So I'll leave some time for anybody else to put questions into the chat, but I have a few of my own. And so from my understanding of how the device works, does it matter where the impact is on the helmet? And do you think it is better prepared for certain types of activities, or it doesn't matter? Can you tell me a little bit more about how that works?
The
Yes.
accelerometer is 3-axis, so it will look at impacts from the right and left, front and back, and top and down. So it does not matter where the impact happens, as long as the impact is more than the threshold, it will start working.
Cool. And the kind of 20-person data set that you had to use, were those all the same kind of head injuries in that data set, or
No, these
No.
were all different types, so I just wanted to make sure that I accounted for everything. So the case 3, this was placed on me. So I did this 20 times. And so because I have no brain damage, it said that I'm fine 90% of the time. But this one was a mixture of concussions and other types of brain damage, all mixed together.
Gotcha. Very cool. This is super interesting. And so in addition, if you go back to your future kind of direction slides at the end, when do you think this would be kind of the thing that you would want to give to somebody to try, whether that's like at your high school, or like when do you think this kind of thing should be used?
So what I've seen is that many parents, they refrain from putting their children in sports because they think they'll get hurt. And it does happen a lot of times, especially when they're hurt and it's not detected. So that's pretty much where I'd put them. So like schools and just professional fitness in general, wherever you have a chance of getting a head injury and you think you won't be able to tell if you have one, that's where I would use the device.
Cool. Yeah. And I love kind of how you've thought about not only the detection, but also informing the users or their coaches or who's connected to that user of the incident, to make it kind of a 360, and not just detecting the things, but also being able to report out to a linked user is really cool. Great. Awesome job. Thank you so much.